in Dayton. This is a really cool fountain for kids to play at. Really neat little park right along a river in Dayton.
This is a quick tutorial on the knots I used for the geocache at the Wright State University sign. I saw this one, it was posted on one of the Facebook forums for geocaching, and I like a challenge. So I got with my sister because we were going up to visit her from here in Florida where we live, and she lives in northern Kentucky. So we made a day of it and went up to the Air Force Museum in Dayton and did this cache. Now, the knots that I use, there's actually two knots. Both of them are used I used them in tandem, but you can use these knots for other things too once you figure out what I'm doing. The first knot is used in sailing. It was taught to me by one of my former bosses who has a sailboat. And it's used for tying down stuff or putting a loop in a rope. And what you do is you take your rope, string, whatever, and you make 3 wraps around your hand. And then you pinch it off at the bottom so you have 3 loops. You take your 3 loops and it's like a braid. You take your outside and go inside. Doesn't matter which side you start with. You go the opposite side, back through the middle, and then the last one is the one that was originally back in the middle, comes back in, and you just pull it tight. This knot can be used if you're tying stuff down. It's really good because you can pull this way, you can pull this way. It doesn't slip, doesn't move, doesn't do nothing. And sometimes it's easier to tie once it's pulled tight than your simple overhand. You know, most people tie a loop in a string like that. Well, this one here can get tighter and stuff, but the one that I tied with the 3 loops does not. That's why it's used in yachting, and it's easy to untie. Now, the next one I did is called an exploding knot. And it is simply a slip knot. You have you have your loop, you put it through, and instead of putting 2 through, you only put the 1 through that you have, and you pull it tight. And then you do that again. You can do this 2 or 3 times. For Wright State, I only needed 2. So now I have a loop I can pull really easily, put a lot of weight on, the other side guiding it up. As we were pulling, we pulled it up with this side. We had this side over the line, over the sign. When we got it up on top, I simply pulled the loop out and it came undone off the cache. The cache has a little D-ring. I'm going to use a screwdriver, which conveniently has a hole in it. So I put the loop through the D-ring on the cache, like so. Did my little slip knot. And then they pulled the cache up via the one side rope, which I can pull. I'm pulling. Okay, here, I'm gonna have my son hold the other end. He can pull, and we can put a lot of tension. Okay, now hold tension on it, Richard. So when we went to let go of the cache, we simply pulled the other side of the string, and it let go, left the cache on the top of the sign. As for untying this knot, Just like a bowline knot, you just pull a couple of loops out, and it simply comes untied. And that's the knots that I use to put the cache back on the Wright State University sign in Dayton, Ohio.